Hello and welcome back to the Bombers Beat podcast. And right off the top, before we talk about the Yankees avoiding a sweep and beating the Los Angeles Dodgers on Sunday Night Baseball, I'd like to say apologies for no shows over the last week. You might be wondering where I went since pretty much the same time last week. I had a little trip planned, for my birthday weekend to go see some family and some friends since I moved away from where I went to high school and college. So I went back to see him with the full intention of recording shows for everybody while I was out of town. And then about toward the end of my trip, I started to get pretty sick. And I've been laid up. I'm recording this right now on Sunday night, right after the game. This is the first day I felt human since I would say last Monday night. So it has been a while, but that is why there's been no shows. We're not going away. I wasn't canceled for some reason, and it wasn't taken down. I'm not giving up on it. But I'm back now, and obviously I'm not going to go back and recap the whole week that was. But what the Monday morning show is to recap the weekend that was, and the weekend resulted in losing 2-3 to the Dodgers, but getting, I would say, what was a big victory on Sunday night. And, it might not be a victory that is worth any more in the standings than it normally would. It's not like a division game. It's not something of that nature. But what it is it puts a complete stop to the panic, because the way, the Yankees blowing a lead in the first game of this series and losing, Max Fried getting hit around a bit in game one, to getting completely embarrassed. There's no other way to perform. You got embarrassed in the second game of the series on Saturday. The panic meter among Yankees fans was at, I think, a season high. And there's been some, there were some times that were a little weird earlier this year, particularly late in that mid to late April spot. Even thinking about even going back to as early as the Diamondback series at Yankee Stadium, where there was some panic. But this was at an all-time high here. And I guess I understand why, even though these are late May and technically first day of June games. This was a test for the Yankees. But I would keep in mind that this is also like the Yankees have came into the series with the best record in baseball against teams above 500. So this is not a scenario where the Yankees are just beat up on bad teams and, they haven't really played anybody. They have played, and they have played well against good teams. But obviously this was the World Series rematch. And it's also, let's be honest, this is the test of, no matter what, even though right now heading into the end of the series, now the Yankees and the Dodgers have the same record. I think many, understandably so, consider the Dodgers to be the best team in baseball, or at least among the tippy top. So this was kind of be a litmus test of, of where the Yankees stood. And through those first two games, it didn't feel good. But the Yankees get a big bounce back effort, thanks on large part on the effort of Ryan Yarbrough, who we'll talk about in a second, in that third game to come back and salvage the series there. And before I went away and got sick, I mentioned that this 9-game road trip, that I thought 6-3 was a reasonable expectations. That if you go at 6-3, you would be happy. They went 6-3. They went 2-1 against the Rockies, 3-0 against the Angels, and 1-2 against the Dodgers. And again, you could talk about, should they have won all three in Colorado? Probably. I don't think that was the best series of their play. I liked what they did in Anaheim, and then first two games down in Los Angeles were rough, and then the Sunday night effort was a much, much better performance. But they did what they needed to do. At the end of the day, I thought 6-3 would have been a very reasonable expectation and what I was hoping for coming into this stretch here. And they were able to accomplish that. And now they will have a day off here on Monday before they start a series at home with the Cleveland Guardians, and then the first home series of the year against the Boston Red Sox. The schedule makers have pretty much routinely in recent years made the Yankees wait until June, at least, until they have their Red Sox matchup. But So 6 games at home here with no off day after Monday's off day. 3 against the Guardians, 3 against the Red Sox. They'll have an off day the following Monday as well. And then they'll hit the road for another 6 games against the Royals and then the Red Sox again. So they're going to stick basically 6 Red Sox games in a 10-day span because for whatever reason the Yankees are just not legally allowed to play the Red Sox before June. But overall, the 7-3 victory on Sunday was really encouraging, and we need to talk about Ryan Yarbrough because as somebody that was added late in spring training, originally just to be kind of like an innings eater, late inning guy, also potential, I guess we can't call them loogies anymore because of the three out rule, but left-handed specialist out of the bullpen has quickly become a key member of their rotation. As he's made a handful of starts this year, and has not allowed more than 2 earned runs in any of them. And, you look at what he's been able to do, in these last few games, 5 innings, 1 run at home against Texas, 6 innings, 1 run in Anaheim, and then on Sunday night, 6 innings, 1 run. All on homers, which is interesting enough. He's given up a home run in 4 straight starts, but that seems to be it. He's not really walking guys either. In these last 4 starts, he has 2 combined walks and 22 strikeouts. And so 2 walks and 22 strikeouts in 22 innings pitched. I mean, you'll take that. A strikeout per inning, extremely low walk total. Not even really giving up a ton of hits. I mean, he gave up 6 hits in that game against the Athletics, but overall in those last 3 starts, he's given up 9 hits in 17 innings. So he is really, you'll catch him for a home run here and there, but they've pretty much all been solo shots, and he has been able to find a lot of success, and has been a key member of this bullpen. And you can argue outside of Max Fried, over the last month, he's been the best starter in the Yankees rotation. Maybe, him, Rodon. It's tough because all those guys have been really good, and now you start to look at this team and you go, wow, they've actually been able to find a way to make this rotation what they've needed it to be. Now, will Ryan Yarbrough continue this run? I don't know. He doesn't have a prolonged history, in recent history at least, of being a starter. He has started before, but he's been used a lot in like an opener role or a long relief role, or we have to come up with a name for the guy that follows an opener. I know they're not as popular anymore, but the guys that go the 3-4 innings after the opener. So he's had a lot of experience in that front, but the Yankees have put him out there, and he's had some opportunities now to see a lineup a third time, and he's had some success. So you have to be incredibly happy with what he has done so far since the Yankees put him into the rotation, and he is a big reason why, on the same weekend he receives his Dodgers World Series ring, he's a big reason why the Yankees were able to escape this game against the Dodgers. I should say escape the series against the game with a big game. I mean, the Yankees really controlled this game. The bullpen gave up a couple home runs, solo shots in the bottom of the 7th inning, but otherwise the Yankees were pretty well in control of this game. Ever since that 3-run third inning, it started with, a 2-run home run by Ben Rice and then Anthony Volpe scoring on a wild pitch. But DJ LeMahieu, monster game here. Best game that he's had in a long, long time. Probably going on 4 years now. I think since the last time he had a 4-hit game. 4 for 5 with 2 runs batted in. I believe 2021 was the last time he had a 4-hit game. But, Judge, who had a couple, that had a few home runs in this series, goes 0 for 4 in this game. But for the most part, though, the Yankees really did what they needed to do in this game because, as I mentioned earlier, the panic meter, there's also, you have to understand, there's the strategic parts of when you lose and when you win, just kind of based on media panic. And if you're going to lose games, losing on Fridays and Saturdays is the time to lose games. And I know we live in a digital world. I know we live in a social media age where there are people conversing 24/7, 365, all hours of the day and night. However, traditional sports media still is dominated by the talk on both television, radio, newspapers, etc., Monday through Friday. That is when people are most engaged with, not necessarily most engaged with sports, but most engaged with sports commentary. and reaction. And I can tell you that as somebody that has run numerous websites, both in, obviously right now in the football space, but I used to cover all sports. I worked with newsbreakers in baseball like John Heyman and Robert Murray and some of these guys. And I tell you, like, there has been a trend everywhere I've been, from small sites like that to big sites like Sports Illustrated, all in between. People are more engaged with consuming content around sports during the week, including on this podcast. So being able to salvage the series on a Sunday like this will lead to a lot more positive reaction from media, from those that are talking Yankees, whether it's individual contributors like myself, whether it's the newspapers covering the team, whether it's the big name, the big box media outlets like ESPN or MLB Network. You will see a completely different reaction now than what you would have today if they had got swept. And you could say, well, yeah, going winning a game versus, understandably. But the narratives that were going to start if they got swept in this series were going to be insane, just based on what I saw from the fan base on social media. Like, we were trending heavily toward just like, Boone needs to be fired, and this needs to be going. We need 3 bats. We need another rotation. We need all these things. About all these things. And yes, the Yankees still need some things. The 4-hit game from DJ LeMahieu tonight doesn't change the fact that I think overall he's been a net negative for such a long period of time that it's clear they need an upgrade. Even when Jazz comes back, there's going to be a spot, whether it's at second base or third base, that needs to be upgraded as an everyday spot, particularly with a right-handed bat if possible. They're still probably going to need another bullpen piece or two. The potential for another starter is interesting. I think Yarbrough having this much success has helped them a lot because it's bought them enough time to see, what's going to happen when Heel comes back. I don't think they care if Stroman comes back or not at this point, I'll be honest with you. But it's more importantly if it's opened themselves up where they don't feel like they probably have to go get a starter. And I think a top target like Sandy Alcantara being as bad as he's been this year, coming off of his injury, is maybe scares them off of that. And they may decide to spend more of their assets on a bat and maybe some bullpen arms. And, they've kind of played some musical chairs with some guys in the bullpen. And, Carlos Carrasco being one of them is now back up. I do think that they could probably use a couple bullpen arms. Now, Jay Cousins is a guy that could be back soon. It looks like, even though he had a setback, a few weeks ago, it looks like he is now within a couple weeks of potentially being back into that bullpen equation. I still think you need some other guys. Injuries happen, and they don't have a lot of bullpen flexibility right now with a lot of the options on some guys. So we'll see what they end up doing, as we now are within about 8 weeks here of the trade deadline. But what this does is it allows us to have a more reasonable narrative around this Yankees team. Because if they would have lost the Monday headlines, once they got done talking about the Knicks, they would have all been around what the Yankees are doing. Are the Yankees good enough? Why they're not? Why they're this? Why they're that? And not the fact that they've been a really good, well-rounded team for most of the year that had a couple bad games against a very good Dodgers team. So I'm happy that we'll at least have a more reasonable conversation around the Yankees on their off day here than they would have. And they have, again, big series coming up. The Guardians played them really tough in the ALCS last year. That's another team that's always in playoff contention. They've got an MVP candidate, probably, I would say, 4th or 5th on my ballot in the American League right now, but in Jose Ramirez. Then you've got the series against the Red Sox, and the Red Sox are they're scuffling, and they're fighting for their chance to kind of remain in the playoff picture, but Yankees-Red Sox is always a battle. It's always something. So, and it's not just a battle with the fan bases either. So we will see how it goes. And then, like I said, we will kind of take a look back at where the Yankees stand, right now on that off-day podcast. Kind of look at a few different players, maybe take a little bit closer look at some of their pitching before and preview their Tuesday game against Cleveland. Tanner Bybee versus Clark Schmidt are the scheduled pitchers. No, I lied. I clicked on the wrong one. Excuse me. Logan Allen versus Carlos Rodon. That will be the first game of the series on the 3rd. Then it'll be Bybee and Schmidt in game 2. And then the series finale will be Luis Ortiz against Max Fried. So we will preview that series and a whole lot more tomorrow on the Bombers Beat podcast. Thanks for coming back, and we'll be talking plenty of Yankees all month and all season long.